Want to know what your dog is thinking?
Have a challenging dog behavior you need help with?
The Dish on Dogs is your source for all your canine questions.
Improve your relationship with your dog and deepen your understanding of your furry friend. Right here on the Dish on Dogs. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode on the Dish on Dogs. I'm your host, Mike Gould, affectionately known as the Mayor of Houndstown, USA. Joining me today is the lovely Jackie Bondanza. This is going to be an educational. Usually I'm blabbing about dogs, the dog brain, the mammalian brain, dog behavior, the things I know about, what I've learned over the last half a century. But today I'm going to get an education on what we've done in 2020, Houndstown, the business end of it. And, Jackie is the human brains of this, so she's going to be explaining things that, frankly, I don't know about. So hopefully this will be informative to people listening that want to know about Houndstown. So welcome, Jackie.
Well, thanks. Well, hopefully you should know about all of these things. But I think...
Why is that?
Well, you are the founder of the company.
I'm not only the founder, Jackie. I found out yesterday I'm the CEO. So, right. As I said, I did an interview. And the lady said, "Are you the CEO?" I said, "I don't know. Let me ask Jackie." So,
oh my goodness! Any of you that know us will know that this is true but funny, right?
I don't know if it's funny. It's actually quite sad. So I'm the founder, CEO, and affectionately known as the Mayor of Houndstown.
Yes, and
Jackie,
I think, yes.
Let me properly introduce you. You're the president, and you laugh that I should know these things. What we need to know is that somebody in Houndstown knows these things.
Yes, so, that is a good thing.
As I say in my seminars, you don't have to know everything about everything. But you need to learn how to delegate things. So I'm not ashamed to admit I don't know anything about social media. I don't know anything about Facebook. I'm not on it. I don't know any of these things. QuickBooks, Kennel, all of these things that you know about, I don't know about. And then hopefully we complement one another because I do understand the dog brain because it's simple. My brain simple, dog brain simple.
Right.
So... yeah, I don't know these things. So
well, you don't know them in detail. So I think I'd love to walk through the whole year. I think it's obviously been a crazy year. Yes. I know for everybody, but for us at Houndstown, 2020 is going to be our best year yet. And I think there are many reasons why that is going to end up being the case. And I think it's important to share them because it just demonstrates the resiliency of our business model and of the pet industry in general, and just how incredible and amazing dogs are, and the opportunity that we have with our system to provide a socialization and pet care experience for the hundreds and millions of dog owners that are in the country. So I think that's never been more apparent than it is now.
Yes.
So let's start in January, okay?
January.
January 2020. I don't know what we were doing.
January. I think I was sitting back smoking a cigar, driving around in my car. January. Okay.
And so then, January, February is traditionally January is a slow month for us because just after the holidays, nobody's really traveling. So we typically take a breather in January and really prepare for, February,
right,
which is traditionally, at least for our home state of New York and New Jersey, a big month, right, because it's a February break, right?
Right. And usually during those slower months, we take care of our facility maintenance. So the dog business, Houndstown, the dog business requires maintenance, facility maintenance.
It does.
Constantly. So if you think of your dog having destructive behavior at home, multiply that by 100 dogs, which we typically would have in our facilities.
Right. So we replace our signage. I believe we like here in Ronkonkoma, we were updating our leash room in January. Yeah. We got our contractor in, kind of just prepping for the new year.
Take a break.
Taking a breather. Mm-hmm. So then February comes, and we've got tons of dogs. We're at capacity. Mm-hmm. Most of our fully matured stores are at capacity for February break.
Yes.
We've got waiting lists, and we book evaluations 3, 4, 5 weeks in advance for some stores. Yeah. So we get through February break, and we're just about hitting March, getting ready for spring break and Easter break, which are another big seasonal boarding month for us. Yeah. And then COVID hits, right? So March March 17th, I remember the day, we get, word that probably schools are closing and, COVID is becoming obviously a huge issue.
Yes.
And for us, our business is centered on the school system to some degree, at least it used to be. School breaks when school is in session and not session dictates typically how busy we're going to be mostly for boarding, right? Because that's when people are traveling, is when kids are not in school. So, in the course of 3 days, we went from, and I'll just use our corporate facility here in Ronkonkoma as an example. We went from having probably 80 dogs a day for, a long time to, the following day or the following Monday having, 30 dogs in our facility. Right. And everyone obviously is canceling their travel and changing plans. So talk a little bit about what that was like.
Right. Well, I also remember, and it kind of reminds me, and when I first started this business was not after 9/11, 2001. Everybody remembers, well, anybody who's old enough remembers where they were, what they were doing on that day. And the several weeks after that, the whole country was out of balance. That's the way I call it. Nobody knew what was happening. They didn't know. And I remember very specifically, I was working at Ground Zero, and the intelligence at that time was going to be that backpack bombers were going to blow up malls all over the country. Really, literally no one, including from the president down to the office worker, knew what was going to happen. So we were all out of balance. And it took a while for us to get back in balance. And then at that time, that was the genesis of Houndstown, actually, because we had all the rescue workers that were going to Ground Zero. They had dogs, and they were working literally 2 or 3 days straight. So they would leave the dogs at Houndstown, and we would take care of them. And that's how we kind of not almost organically started taking care of essential workers' dogs. At that time, it was police and firemen.
Right.
Now it's the same, only different in the terms of what essential workers are. We became an essential service early on, and that was a big differentiator for us compared to other businesses, right?
For sure. Yeah, it took, I think there were a good 3 or 4 weeks when nobody really knew what was going on, including obviously our franchisees. We obviously immediately worked really hard to support them, to try to find information for our system about, are we permitted to stay open? Are we an essential service? If we are, how do we get on that list? We operate in 6 states, so we immediately had to become a resource for all of our franchisees and their staff for each of the states that they operate in. So we became kind of like command central, I would say, to the best ability that we had.
Right.
And our marketing team had to very quickly pivot as well and develop what ended up being a 6-week COVID-19 marketing plan that moved from being an acquisition-focused plan to being a retention-focused plan. So for some of us that have fully matured stores, what that meant was, it was an unusual experience, right? Because we had to go from having wait lists and having 80 dogs in our facility to how do we retain and motivate the 30 to 40 customers we do have coming every day. So we created a marketing plan that was focused on healthcare workers because for the most part, nurses, pharmacists, doctors, those were the people who were the essential workers of 2020, right?
At least immediately thereafter. Then the universe realized, or the country realized, that other people are essential. Elevator worker, everybody that keeps society running, truck drivers, housekeepers, people working at the supermarket, they're all essential workers. But you're right, we were somewhat, we were in shock kind of for that first 2 or 3 weeks. And then some people, when we talk about an essential service, people might scratch their heads. Those of you who don't have a dog or don't rely on pet care as for your animals. So people would be like, doggy daycare is essential? Absolutely, because the essential workers wouldn't be able to work. Think of this scenario. You have a dog, you work at the hospital, you work at the supermarket, wherever you work. Now you're required to not only work your regular shift, you're working 12, 16 hours a day. Who's taking care of your dog?
Right.
So it may not appear essential on the surface, but when you think a little bit deeper about it, we're essential because we're taking care of essential workers.
Well, and we're taking care of live animals. So luckily, the government came down with a law that blanketed us as essential because we have live animals in our care. We had customers who were traveling, were abroad, and couldn't get home. I mean, if we couldn't stay open, how would those dogs obviously be taken care of?
And we have rescue dogs from the shelter.
We do. We've got about 10 or 12 rescue dogs just between our 7 locations on Long Island.
Downtown Charities, right. So it was a no-brainer for us, but that was a differentiator. So now we're an essential service. We were out of balance in the month of March. Then what happened that we now, sitting here today, I don't know how, but we are experiencing the most growth. We've done more in the last 7 months than we have in the last, I can't remember. We opened more stores, our profits, talk about that.
Well, so to back it up a little bit, we were, I think, anticipating obviously that our development would slow down. Typically we do discovery days in person. We moved to doing them
discovery day for
virtually. It's a day where, you come and visit the store, and it's the end of the vetting process.
Right.
If you decide whether or not you want to join our system. So we moved to doing those virtually, and very surprisingly to us, we had 4 or 5 people that joined us virtually and then decided to come into the system. So through March, April, May, until it was relatively safe to be back in person doing discovery days, we never missed a beat. We brought on, 5 candidates just in April, May, and June, I believe, that relative time frame. And by the time June rolled around, luckily we were getting back into the swing of things. We started to see a lot of our regular customers back in the store very regularly. And we started not only seeing that, but started to see a lot of new dogs, a lot of new evaluations. Right. Luckily for us, the thing to do during the pandemic was to adopt a puppy. So people were doing that in April. By May, June, July, the novelty had worn off, right?
The honeymoon was over.
People have to get back to work. They need someone to take care of this little crazy, energetic puppy. So started seeing a lot of new people coming into the store, both because of that and because, interestingly, we weren't sure how the work from home culture was going to affect our daycare business, right?
Nobody did. Right.
We have seen a lot of customers come in who previously hadn't used a daycare service because they were out of the house. They didn't have the opportunity to necessarily be home with the dog.
Right.
And to see how much energy the dog actually has, right, and how much the dog probably needs to be out of the house at daycare. Right. So getting a lot of people in the stores that are telling us that.
Right. That was pretty interesting, right? So people romanticize like they do, about having a dog, sitting by the fireplace, petting the dog, writing the book they've always wanted to write. Whatever they did, they're going to work out. They're going to do all these things while they're quarantined at home. And then they're going to have this little fluffy, kind of this Norman Rockwell moment with the dog sitting at your feet while you smoke a pipe and at the fireplace. Then 2 weeks later, the dog is chewing the molding, pooping in the house, barking at everything that moves. So the honeymoon is over. People are at wit's end. Rather than bring them back to the shelter, which sadly many people are starting to do right now. Right. I'm seeing a big increase in dogs going back to the shelter because some people, not you, of course, that are listening, but some people very selfishly took the dogs at home for this little quarantine period. And as the dogs are maturing and getting older, behaviors are occurring and the dogs are ending up in the shelter. But that was that was a interesting phenomenon to me, that people working at home actually had the necessity to bring the dog
right. That was a huge moment for us in our system, a nice surprise to realize that the work from home dynamic could actually help our business in a tremendous way. So also in June, we opened 2 stores, which was arguably in the height of the pandemic, at least in Florida. So we opened a store in Sanford, Florida, right outside of Orlando, and also a store in Smyrna, Tennessee, back to back. Both opened to record-breaking numbers of new evaluations in the first 10 days. They both did over 50 evals in the first 10 days they were open. And the Smyrna store in particular is going to end up breaking a revenue record for their first full month in business. the record's going to be, higher than any of the 7 stores we have on Long Island that have benefited from brand awareness for 20 years. Right. So another huge moment for our system, to me, that said to us as a system, the services that we're offering to people are an absolute necessity, even in the height of a pandemic. Oh, yeah. So we started to kind of get this idea that this could actually really work to our benefit, and imagine the possibilities for occupancy in these stores when this is all over.
Right. I don't really know what that's going to look like, because at some of our places we're at full capacity right now. Our Island Park location is pretty much at full capacity. Here in Ronkonkoma, we have 80 to 90 dogs a day. Our system is taken care of, when you think of it this way. Almost 1,000 dogs every day of the week we're taking care of right now. So it will be interesting to see, but it does blow me away that in the height of COVID, and of course we respect and follow all the CDC guidelines, travel. Most amazing to me, I just came back from Rockledge, Florida, where we opened Space Coast. And we also opened Nashville. The amount of temperament evaluations, meaning new customers coming into the door, was phenomenal. Obviously, that's a tribute to our fantastic marketing department led by the one and only Corey Packer. But, it's and again, you're talking to a person that's not on Facebook. I don't know anything. I just hear about these Facebook groups and all of these things, and it's really unbelievable of how you can, small businesses or businesses can use these things to your advantage. It's incredible.
Yeah. So open to those 2 stores in June. Through the summer, they continue to do very well. Of course, our boarding is down system-wide compared to 2019, because of the travel restrictions. It's difficult. We have a lot less number of customers that are, our customers are the customers that travel to Europe and go on cruises. So that's completely 100% shut down right now. So, however, our daycare numbers are exceeding pre-COVID numbers in some stores. So the daycare has really been compensating for the lower boarding percentages. Right. So, come September, we were pretty much back in full swing. And then October comes, and we opened our Hillsdale, New Jersey location, which is in Bergen County. That opened to over 70 evaluations. So every time we open a store, the marketing team learns more, and we all get better and more efficient at opening. Right.
And that's important, I think, for people listening. So we are evolving. Every living creature evolves. Our business evolves. So we learn just what you said. Every time we do it, we're getting better at it. My training, I do the temperament evaluations. I teach animal management. Every time I do it, it gets subtly, slightly better each time. And you would think after doing this so many times that there's not much to learn, but we're always evolving.
There's always room for improvement, and we learn on every aspect, every level, every time we open a store. So Hillsdale was a great sign. Again, it just was even better than the Smyrna and the Sanford opening. So they continue to do extremely well. And then November 14th, we were back in Nashville, opening our Nashville store again. In the height, really, of COVID, that's just around the time that they had a resurgence there. Right. So we were faced with that challenge as well. And, these are the challenges that small businesses, and I think every business faces, is we were just challenged with it 5 times this year with opening stores and in the pandemic, and dealing with employee concerns and government shutdowns. And I think, just the sheer volume of people we've seen in the store, despite all of that, has just been impressive, and I think surprising to all of us.
Right. And one of the points that you made, and I want to make, is part of Houndstown business model, and what is a differentiator from us and our competitors, is our core business is doggy daycare. Yes. Our core business from the day I opened 20 some odd years ago was doggy daycare, which people looked at me and frankly laughed at me, saying, who's going to bring their dog to doggy daycare? Yep. And it was kind of a novelty at the time. But we never shifted that business model. So doggy daycare was our core. Our competitors focus on boarding. Yep. And of course, quite naturally, just like hotels are going out of business. If you have it reversed, where you do 80% boarding and 20% daycare, they're taking a huge hit and going out of business.
They are.
We've always our core is the doggy daycare. Come, let your dog play, go home. And of course we do boarding, and it's a percentage of our business, but not what we focus on. It's not a pet hotel. It's an interactive doggy daycare.
Right. So Nashville opened that November 14th, and then that was the 4th store we opened this year. And then the 5th was just a week and a half ago, a couple weeks ago, our Houndstown Space Coast location in Rockledge, Florida. And that, what you were mentioning earlier, nearly 200 evaluations in the first 10 to 12 days in business. And just a phenomenal opening. I mean, those numbers are just, you don't even anticipate that, because it just seems like an unachievable amount of people coming into the store. But again, due to mainly our marketing program and also the franchisees just getting out there, getting into their markets, building those B2B relationships, building community trust, and they just really prepared their business in an ideal way to open, even during the height of a pandemic. Right.
And I know that it seems redundant. I know you do your weekly pup date where you write to everybody telling them, what's happened in the week, and we're always highlighting the new numbers and how great things are. But the numbers don't lie. They're all factual numbers, so it's not a gimmick. What we do, the numbers are...
No, they speak for themselves.
They speak for themselves. And what you just said, whatever the reason, each time, obviously there's going to be a point where we're going to plateau. But Space Coast was a phenomena to me, frankly, because I just never expected the turnout. 200 dogs, 98% of them passed their temperament evaluations.
Right.
And it was no different. Obviously, a lot has to do with the franchisee. Meaning, we have a way of developing our groups and interacting with customers, and it's hard. It's a lot of work being done to it. But, we all work hard on our partnerships with our franchisees, and the results really do speak for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think good segue into what I want to end with, or the second to last thing, which is our Cyber Monday deals, big part of our marketing campaign. So I believe we had 12 or 13 or more. Every store that was open participated in our annual Cyber Monday deals that are run by our marketing team. We generated a very significant amount of revenue for each store, which shows a huge interest in our services. When people are committing to buying 40, 50, 60 days of daycare in advance, right, that is a great sign that they are obviously committed to the long term of this and bringing their dog to the facility long term. Right. So huge. I think that was a huge moment for our franchisees. It just ends the year on a really positive note. And, as we now are in December and ending the year, we're going to end up exceeding our 2020 growth goals. So we opened 5 stores. We've got another 12 that are probably going to open in 2021. We've got another 15 that are signed but not open yet. So by the end of next year, we're on track to have about 35 stores open and operating. And we're going to, this year, bring on probably 16 to 18 franchisees. And starting out the year, our goal was 12 to 15. So all in all, a bumpy ride, but a very positive one for us here at Houndstown.
It's been a good run, Jackie, and it's much to your tutelage and your guidance. We're all very grateful to have you on board here.
Sense sarcasm.
No, condescension. No, that's not me.
No, I'm kidding.
No,
it's truly a group effort. When all of this happened, everybody just dropped everything, and we just said, what do we do to support our franchisees, our employees, our businesses, our customers? Right. Let's just get it done. And I'm really proud that everybody came together and just did it. We got it done.
Right. Okay, that's it, boy. We had a busy year.
I know. I'm exhausted thinking about it.
Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, you name it. Everybody enjoy the best we can. With all the restrictions, enjoy your holidays. We'll see you. Are we going to do this again before the end of the year? No,
probably not. This will be our last show. So
our last show of the year. How sad that is to me. All right, folks. Yeah. So follow us on Spotify, iPhone video. How do you do this, Jackie?
All right, let me take it home. All right.
Take it away.
All right, so we're on every Monday night at 8 o'clock. You can find us on the Dish on Dogs on our Facebook page. You can also check us out on YouTube, Dish on Dogs Podcast, and you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and all the other traditional podcast platforms. Happy New Year to everybody, and we'll see everybody in 2021.
Ciao.